Everyone, thanks for showing up tonight. My name is Trevor. I'm the community manager at a local tech recruiter here in town called KJ Technical. We operate largely in the blockchain and cryptocurrency space. So I started this meetup with Will, and our goal is to put on a monthly meetup that's platform agnostic and gives everyone a chance to find out about emerging platforms and organizations and educate people on stuff that you may or may not have come across on the interwebs. So tonight we have, I think, 5 or 6 speakers lined up, and the format is 10 minutes or less. Give your spiel, and then we'll have a short Q&A after each presentation. So it'll be kind of a smattering of all kinds of different topics. So without further ado, we'll have Dave Craig come up first and talk about some blue chip projects that he's been looking at. Thanks, Dave.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Oh, wait, there's a mic there too.
Is that? I think they're both off. Check one. Yeah. I'll just talk loud. Nice to see some familiar faces here. As you mentioned, I am here to talk about some blue chip crypto projects. And so I've been thinking a lot about what qualifies as an actual blue chip project. When it comes to traditional stocks, we typically define a blue chip stock as one that is well established, financially sound, has a large market capitalization, is a market leader, and is oftentimes a household name. Now, in the crypto space, we don't have as much of a developed market right now. We're still in the very early innings in the world of crypto, but we can apply the same sort of model as we look for cryptocurrencies and cryptocurrency projects that do kind of qualify as blue chip. If you go to CoinMarketCap right now, you'll see right up at the top there is about 1,584 cryptocurrencies that they're tracking. Now, I believe over the course of the next number of years that we're going to have maybe 5,000, maybe even 10,000 coins. So my investing thesis is pretty simple, that there's going to be a lot more coins in the next decade. If you focus on the top 1%, they will qualify as blue chip currencies. And if you or your friends own some of these currencies, you will do very well. So that's kind of my personal investing thesis. Then we have an investing syndicate that kind of is modeled on this same sort of idea as well. If you go to Coinbase or Robinhood, there's 4 main coins on Coinbase, and about 16 that Robinhood is currently tracking. Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to be rolled out or have been rolled out, and then the other 14 will be possibly rolled out in the future. So these have already been basically given a vote of confidence by these 2 large crypto companies, these kind of industry leaders. But in addition to that, I'm interested in coins such as Nano, OhmySco, EOS, and Dragon Chain. I'm also interested in some of the staking coins that actually give staking rewards to the people that hold them. So I think this is what the future possibly will hold. As more and more coins come on the market, what will qualify something that's very valuable? Well, staking is one of the things that's very valuable. Getting additional free currency simply by holding the coin could be a very high incentive for customers to move over to that specific to that coin. So the value proposition of these is really great. And I also specifically like Neo. Neo actually stakes inside the hardware wallet, which is quite nice. You can actually have the additional security of having it, quote-unquote, off your computer, and it's, quote-unquote, in the hardware wallet, and it's actually staking in real time there. So I hope that over the course of the next number of years, we'll see more coins that will stake inside hardware wallets, and maybe even we'll see a hardware wallet with a digital screen where you actually can watch in real time as the money is accruing interest. That would be kind of cool as well. You've probably been to this website before, the Points Guy. It's a website that basically compares a lot of the credit cards and all of the different value propositions of each of the cards and the rewards and incentives that they have. Now, I believe over the course of the next decade, we'll see this with cryptocurrency. Why not have a website very similar to this, where you have the top staking coins, the top masternode coins, the top incentivized coins, in a list where you can prioritize and pick the ones that are going to give you the most value. So I think that could be a space that could really provide a lot of additional incentive for people to join cryptocurrency if there was high staking rewards or high quote-unquote points for different types of currencies. As Vitalik said just a couple months ago, have we earned it yet? Have we really created enough value in cryptocurrency? And I think he's absolutely right about this. There's so much more to be built, and cryptocurrency is still at such an early stage right now. And I like this little sticker that we've been talking about. It's instead of Win Lambo, it's Win Ship. Because this is focused on projects that actually have dev resources behind them and are focused on producing high-value projects that aren't just specifically focused on the financial gains. So I think it's good to keep an eye on the developers. Some of the developers that I've been impressed with are the team from Brave. You can actually access your cryptocurrency right inside of the browser, which is pretty powerful. And then I really like Origin Protocol, which is a company that I actually work for as an admin, a community admin. But even if I didn't, I would still be pitching them today just because they have done some great work to produce kind of a sharing economy on the blockchain. So imagine going to Origin Protocol in the future and using them to reserve kind of an Airbnb-style apartment or house and pay Origin maybe just 1% versus Airbnb takes about 30%. So I think it's going to be very powerful to watch them grow. In fact, as of last Wednesday, there was 15 people on the Google Hangouts, and all of these developers working together towards a common goal to build a truly great blue-chip cryptocurrency project. So that was really cool for me to see, and you guys are all invited if you wanted to see their development work on Wednesdays. So yeah. Also, I like Trust Wallet. Trust Wallet is a secure wallet for Ethereum. But in addition to the fact that it can hold all of your different Ethereum-based coins, it also has dApps built right into it. So you can actually use that Ethereum to participate in dApps such as CryptoKitties, which is kind of cool. So I think if you watch this space over the course of the next number of years, the ability to have both your money and then also a dApp browser, be able to access a lot of these dApps, could be a very powerful thing just right in your pocket. Being able to just kind of load that up from a mobile experience. So keep an eye on Trust Wallet. If you follow me on Twitter, I have a crypto list. There's 476 people that I'm currently keeping an eye on. And we have about 120 subscribers. I think, Will, you might be a subscriber.
Yes.
I am.
Yes.
And so we're trying to continue to cultivate this list with basically the top 500 people in the space. So as you follow me, you can click on my list, and it's in my crypto
What's your
list.
handle?
I'm bringing that up in a second. 3 people I think you should keep an eye on are Anthony Pompliano. He just cranks out a bunch of great high-volume content, high-value content. If you don't already follow him, definitely do so. Bully is the corporate attorney who also loves crypto, and he's fun to follow. A lot of great stuff that he's been pumping out. And then Not So Fast has a very interesting approach as he looks at the cryptocurrency space from kind of a high point of view. And he also invests a lot of time and effort into all of his mining operations as well. So he's a good one to follow when it comes to staking masternodes and mining. So thank you very much for hearing out some of my ideas on blue chip cryptocurrency and cryptocurrency projects. Feel free to find me afterwards if you have any additional questions. This is a space I really love. And if you'd like, feel free to follow me on Twitter at Dave Craig, DAVECRAIGE. So thank you. Should we do Q&A now, or should I sit down?
Let's do it now. Yeah.
Is there any questions or any additional ideas? Do you guys have any favorite staking coins that you like, or?
Yeah, I wanted to ask. You can stake in paper. You can stake in the paper wallet, can't you? Mm-hmm. So why would it be hard for a hardware wallet to be staking?
Well, not all cryptocurrency, not all staking coins stake. Some have to actually be like, if you look at lists.
Oh, they have to be owned by the.
Yeah, there's just a number of different ways that the different currencies have set it up, have basically programmed, have architected it. And so I actually personally prefer the fact that you can have Neo in your hardware wallet in a secure lockbox versus some of the other coins you actually have to have on your computer, and you actually have to have the digital wallet there. And then if there's a fire at your house, or if you lose your computer, or there's a number of these type of things that add additional points of failure to the system. That's why I think that in the next 5 years we'll see a lot more kind of staking models similar to Neo.
Are you familiar with Zencash?
Zencash? Yeah. A little bit.
Yeah,
do you stake them?
I'm sorry?
Do you have some Zencash yourself?
Yeah, I run a secure node, and they're releasing a tiered node system with one tier basically running their side chains and decentralized exchanges and things like that. It's a really interesting project. They're actually producing things like a lot of teams don't seem to be. But yeah.
Is that a global team, or?
I'm sorry?
Is that a global team, or?
Yeah. They're really big in pretty much every continent except Antarctica.
How many masternodes do you have?
I've got a secure node. I'm waiting for the next tier to come out. I'm going to try and get in on that if I can pull it.
Does anyone here have masternodes? Anyone else in the audience? No?
Have you seen a decentralized version of Uber coming down the turnpike with the Origin protocol?
Yeah, so that's the idea that Origin protocol provides the base layer, so the developers can build on top of it. And so you might see a scooter, a sharing economy model based on some of the scooters that you see in San Francisco. So you can build that on top of Origin, or you can build a ride-sharing service. I personally, having spent many years kind of researching ride-sharing, actually have a lot of respect for the development work behind the scenes. To be able to work with a two-sided marketplace like that, and to be able to make sure that your supply and your demand are at least somewhat similar levels. So I think that it's a lot more work than maybe just creating kind of a Craigslist. You could spin up a Craigslist competitor probably in a number of days or maybe even hours on Origin, but to actually produce a viable ride-sharing company, I think would require still tens of millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be interesting to see what people build on top of Origin. But if you guys are interested to follow a project that I think is really fascinating from a development standpoint, the fact that Origin is literally building the base layer so all these developers and startups can build on top of it is very powerful. So basically the projects that empower developers, kind of like the Straight.com of crypto space, I think are the projects to keep a really close eye on because it's just, it's neat being able to make it easier for developers to do their, and entrepreneurs to do their work.
Yeah.
So we're good? Yeah?
Cool.
Isn't it fun? Isn't it fun?
Not official yet.
It's not official.
Not official yet. We'll see.
All right, thanks.
It's really fun.
There you go. Hello, everybody.
That mic does work if you want to use it. Either
This
way.
one?
Yeah,
Is the audio better?
I think it
Yeah.
is.
Okay, good. Let's do this mic then.
Hey, everybody. Naveen, founder of Standard Meta. My previous project, and the reason I came to crypto was I was building a crowdsourcing company to power ad hoc community networks and distribute incentives across an ad hoc network. We came across a problem of aligning incentives and just creating a payment system that would support this sort of a team formation. And that drove me down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, and here we are. Like Dave said before me, we still haven't built the basic infrastructure for transparency. We haven't built the basic infrastructure for accountability. Even though most of the tech inside of blockchain, the blockchain world is open source, the data and the insights are still locked up in the chain. So if you guys are familiar with the fiat world, the SEC maintains a database of all public companies, call it the EDGAR database, right? There's no similar database, open source and crypto native, for the crypto space, right? So there needs to be a place where I can go to find verified information about any project that wants to signal quality to their users, signal quality to their investors. There's no such place. It's locked up in private Slack channels, Telegram groups, WhatsApp groups. There's no open standard for what, even if you ask the question, hey, these are the 4 metrics that I want you to answer, most clients don't even have those metrics on hand. And the incentives are aligned in such a way that they have minimum incentives to share those with you as well. So the goal of Standard Meta is to create an open protocol for data sharing and accountability on crypto projects. So if you want to signal quality, if you want to create a self-regulatory organization, if we don't want the governments to bring their hammer down on this crypto space, and we know that they are inefficient, they take one hammer to a whole bunch of nails and some screws in between, so they will solve the problem inefficiently. This is my way of solving the information, the regulation, and the accountability problem in crypto. We're hiring for analysts right now, so it's completely open. Analysts that are interested to improve accountability and transparency in the space, everything will be open source. So the way we monetize this would be data services on top of the core data platform. So one promise that I do want to make for everybody listening is that the core data will be open source and free forever. As long as I am involved in this project, the core data will be open source. I don't believe in rent seeking. I do not believe in charging for projects for something that I'm sitting on. So as we contribute work to this database, we will charge for it, and that there will be value generated. Thank you. That's my pitch. Questions?
Yeah. So you mentioned 4 metrics. Like, off the top of your head, what are some important metrics for cryptocurrency?
Great question. Token emission rate. In the next 12 months, how many tokens do you as a team plan to release? Or does a protocol have a plan to release, right? Token emission rate. Second thing is custodianship. Who is there a legal entity that is the core team, or is it just a GitHub repo, or whether it's a code repo, right? Is there a legal entity? Jurisdiction. What jurisdiction do you come under, right? There's confusion from the fiat side of who will power you down, but who is that person, right? That kind of thing. Just basic stuff.
Right.
And then we'll do the value add from standard meta side would be to do calculations of Gini coefficients and all of that from the token side of things. So if you follow Balaji Srinivasan, who is now recently the CTO of Coinbase? Yeah, Coinbase. Yeah. So when he was at 21, he and his team did a Gini coefficient analysis of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and I think 2 more coins, right? And they figured out that it was close to 0.9. Like the top 100 accounts owned so much of the coin that it's ridiculous to call it a decentralized system.
It's worse than North Korea.
Why not? Hyperbole, right? Hyperbole is not my strong suit, but there's this other. So the MIT DCI also did a Gini coefficient study to show that Ethereum is less decentralized than a 20-node Byzantine fault-tolerant core. So if you have a BFT quorum of 21 nodes, you're more decentralized than Ethereum. And we're putting all of the stake, all of this hype into these projects. Somebody has to check on it. So, and Jackson Palmer, one more point, has this website called arewedecentralizedyet.com. Right? And he's tracking the top 10 or 20 cryptocurrencies, and he has number of nodes to control 51%, number of client installs, number of software sources that people are running. It's a great project. Those are the types of value that we want to do.
Cool. Yeah, so it's like white paper analysis too.
Absolutely.
Well, so isn't that a comparable Jackson's project?
It is, and it's also open source.
Right.
So it's co-opetition. It's not competition, it's not cooperation, it's co-opetition.
No, that's just
Exactly. Yeah, the more the better. Like in this space, if you're working towards accountability, if you're working towards open source, it's a rising tide lifts all boats kind of stuff. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
I'm relatively boring compared to all the rest of this stuff, except to say I'm the CEO of OnePay. And OnePay, our belief is that any business anywhere should be able to accept cryptocurrency payments without a bank or any other third party. And when we tell you, this is where we normally talk about me, but I'm not going to. What we'll tell you is I'm going to tell you a lot more about things that are not crypto than crypto here, because I think it's important to understand the magnitude of the problem that we have. And what that is that e-commerce is broken. And I'm sure, like, who here has not seen more than 10 checks in the last year? 10 paper checks that were issued to you, right? Like, e-commerce, of course it's working, Russell. I use it every day. And paying with a credit card is really, really easy, or a debit card. But e-commerce is great most of the time for us in this room, but for merchants who have to take big payments or high risk, or individuals that have problems with banking or any sort of credit issues, it's not at all. To show you the magnitude of this, in 2016, the worldwide market for retail, so the value of the retail transactions went through $24 trillion. Okay, contrast that with how much it was paid for by any electronic means at all. That's fucking crazy, right? Nobody wants to believe that 2 trillion of 24 trillion is paid for electronically in this world, because we think that but this is really the way it works.
I'm sorry, it's
22 trillion in cash. People are paying in cash. So this red Pac-Man is like in the world how little that's how much is being paid for in cash. In the United States, it's a little better, right? And so there's plenty of examples where you see it work. First, I want to talk about where it actually works. So for us, commerce fraud is huge, right? So almost $8 of every $100 that's spent at a merchant is fraudulent. Okay, that's crazy It's crazy. ACH, ATMs, they're all just as insecure. The only reason private label, the domestic is so low is because it's like private banks. So they're sending money to private banks. If you're a merchant in this area, this costs you almost 2% of your top line revenue. The reason is because 8% of the revenue that you get is returned. Let's say you got a payment for $100. That means you get an ACH for $94, $95. Okay, then it's charged back. So then when they charge back, they charge you back $100. So even if you didn't give them anything, you're out $5. But if you did give them anything, you're now out $105 on a $100 product. So you can see why it's so expensive so fast. Credit card fees for low risk are pretty low, 4 or 5 cents in the dollar. But when you get to high risk merchants, it's closer to 20 cents in the dollar. Okay, and that's all passed down to us as consumers. And ATMs, the average ATM fee is $3. Average withdrawal is $60. Do the math, 5%. That's what you're paying for your cash. It's yours. You're not even getting credit on this. 5%. So it's also broken in the places where you've got unbanked businesses and unbanked people or underbanked people. And we live in Colorado. It's great. The cannabis industry is a poster child for the underbanked. This is a USA Today picture of a guard who picked up 2 duffel bags full of cash from one dispensary to go to the Department of Revenue in Colorado to pay for their taxes. It's crazy, right? Crazy world. Okay. This is worldwide and the United States. United States, more than a quarter of our people do not have adequate banking. They can't take part in a reasonable way in e-commerce. Worldwide, 4 billion people don't have banking. 90 million in the United States, 4 billion worldwide. The best chance we have within 10 years improving that by 20%. That means we still have 40% of the world unbanked. It's crazy. For you and me, peer-to-peer, it's good, I can send you money with PayPal or Venmo. No, that's not peer-to-peer. That means you have an account with Venmo, I have an account with Venmo, you have a bank account that's linked to your Venmo account, I have one. It goes through at least 3 intermediaries. It's not you don't have custody, you can't spend it right away. It's lipstick on a pig, is what it really is. Then comes Bitcoin. Bitcoin, you can actually, as of 2010, using a QR code, send money to another individual. We've never been able to do this before. People could not send money to people directly. But now you can. You can do it to people, you can do it to businesses. It takes about 12 seconds to get a validation through the network, just to know that it's in there, which is much more dependable than any credit card authorization you could possibly get. You have speedy settlement, as I already mentioned. Low barriers to entry. I'll set you guys up with wallets if you want right now and give you some free Bitcoin just because you don't have it. No fraud risk because all payments are a push. There's no information anyone can steal about you or about the payment to be able to facilitate stealing money from you. Transaction fees already mentioned. It's super easy to use. You scan a QR code. What could be easier? Even people that work at Walmart can do that. And there's no chargebacks. Okay, chargebacks are those things that are super expensive that cause all sorts of problems. Well, the good news, as of January, over 5% of Americans actually own Bitcoin, which sort of blew me away. Okay, this is a really important tipping point. If you look at through the history, when we hit those 5% marks, that is when things actually changed. And it's looking like we'll be up around 12% by the end of this year, which is unbelievable to think. It took 25 years before credit cards had 5% adoption. And we're talking about less than 10 years for Bitcoin. One of the issues people have when we talk about is volatility in the Bitcoin market, and it's a problem. Right? You take money now, you're afraid it's going to be worth less. Of course, volatility is up and down. So that is, there's a plus side to it. Most people aren't in that. But the thing is that if you look at this pattern, it's going down, right? Every time we have a new peak in interest in cryptocurrencies, and Bitcoin specifically, we go down by about 4 standard deviations. So in about 4 years, we'll be down around gold. So it'll be as stable as gold as you spread out. Another totally fascinating thing is fiscal and monetary policy. So governments, how do you pay bill? You pay your taxes in US dollars, right? You do all your government transactions in US dollars. That's a requirement. Now, there are, and because of that, they have control. Governments have control over fiscal policy. They can print more money. They can restrict the cash flow, raise interest rates, lower interest rates, those kinds of things. Well, for developing nations that have pretty much proven that they suck at this, and they have like crazy inflation and all these other problems, they are much more interested in a lax, passive monetary policy. They can adopt a cryptocurrency like, and I'm not saying like the petrodollar, but like Bitcoin, that would enable them to combat inflation, as well as giving more stability to their people, and at the same time making Bitcoin more widely held, or any cryptocurrency that they chose, and stabilizing that currency, making it less volatile. Really cool options. This I should have said before. So these are the numbers. By the end of the year, you'll have almost 30% of millennials and almost 20% of Gen Xers holding Bitcoin. Mind-blowing. So you guys already know this, but Bitcoin payments basically eliminate fraud. They don't require any personal data at all to go along with payments. Leverage the newest technology, unlike ACH, which is about 1970s technology, credit cards, which is 1990s technology, and other things. And then there's no banking requirement at all. So what I would say is that if Bitcoin continues to get on the adoption track that it's on, we're going to have 90% less payment fraud out there in the real world within 5 years. We're going to have markets expanded to the 4 billion underbanked adults that are out there. Payments processing down by 75% because they'll drive it because the options are so much better. International payments in less than 20 minutes. Anybody done an international wire before? Crazy. 5 days at best. Vastly decreased need for ATMs, so you can do it through a mobile app on your phone. And stabilizing developing nations' economies. Thanks. If you want to solve this law, I'll send it to you. Just so if you're here, if you guys came in a little late, if you don't have Bitcoin or a wallet, I'll gladly give you some. Show you how to use it. Sorry. Any questions?
They have a problem pretty well, but you didn't have a solution. How does Bitcoin solve all these things and is bread and sliced bread?
Well, you can't eat Bitcoin unless you get it from me, which I give chocolate.
Right.
But I can, it's not a short answer. And so many people up there talking with technical, so I probably wouldn't. However, what our solution is software. Basically, businesses, vendors own their software just like they own their cash registers.
Right.
And they accept Bitcoin directly without going through a third party.
You're the third party.
And no, we're not. We're software. I mean, unless you consider like Telnet a third party,
right.
Which I don't think you would. But
right.
a third party in financial terms means having custody of funds.
Right.
And at no point does our software ever have custody of funds. At no point does it even have a key. Right. So we're totally non-custodial.
Thank you.
Sure. If you want to know any more, our website is wampay.com, WAMPEI. And I'm always game for talking. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me see what I can do here. So my name is Duke Crawford, and I have been in Mexico, and basically I was raised for about the last 10 years. So I really don't have a great presentation ready for you, but I believe I have a high-level insight, which is, we're all doing these cryptocurrencies, we're all making these consensus algorithms, we're all making agreements. And 99% of those are over an implicit agreement, technical agreement, that we make every day, all the time. And that's this IP protocol that we use to communicate. Okay? So every time that we're on the internet, we're using a very, very specific architecture to communicate. And what it's doing is pretty cool. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about here. What it's doing is pretty cool. It's making a software abstraction that imitates an end-to-end copper wire connection. Right? So it doesn't broadcast natively. It doesn't work with radio natively. You have to do all these layers. There's this thing I don't even understand called the NAT, the NAT. You have to do all this namespace craziness to make this computer with a number on it have its IP address, and then you rename it, and then you do all these naming craziness. Why do I care? I care because I'm making some language apps, and then we're going to pay the ass with this naming hassle. So I got into this thing called name data networking, and it's an alternative to IP. Nobody's heard about it. So there's one thing that's interesting about it, is it's efficient. It basically acts like BitTorrent in your router. So instead of like going to a DNS server, centralized, and then going to all these different layers to find out, to get a YouTube, for example, and then you get it through all these content delivery networks that are actually pushing the YouTube towards you, this does it in the protocol layer, in the actual network layer. So it's super efficient because the memory you want is pushed toward you. Okay? So it behaves differently than saying, oh, well, Facebook has my data. Google has my data. These names in this architecture owns my information. It's just totally wrong. Okay. So where my talk was going to go was a little bit in the future, which is in the future, we're going to get a lot of memory. A whole lot of memory. Like a lot of memory. I've been doing the math. We can't really imagine it. But if you go back like 2006, you're talking, what? Gigabytes? 80 gigabytes? Like not that much. Now we're into terabytes. So in the next 12 years, it's basically 1,000 times every 12 years. That's how it's going. It's petabytes. By 2030, we're going to be talking about petabytes. Does anybody have any idea what a petabyte is? Dude, it's 1,000 years, MP4 years. It's 10 times your life. 24/7, 365, video on. And then 12 years after that, it's 1,000,000 times. We're like into it. We're into this crazy thing we can't even imagine. So tell me, when is the date? What year is it going to be where you're saying, oh, Facebook, can I please have permission to access my memory? Because you certainly have a better use for it than I do. So can I log in and get my memory from you? Or while I have 100,000 years of memory in my own memory, you know, it's ridiculous. Something's going to change. There's going to be a switch. We're going to own our own memory. We're going to own the chronological sequence of that. There's not going to be any algorithms that are going to be distorting it. We're not going to have our memory fractured into all these different platforms and asking permission, you get me, for this. We're going to own our own memory. We're going to be signing it, just like an immutable append-only chain. We're going to own our own blockchains. And then from there, from that layer of owning our memory, we can network. And we can network either IP, with 4 minutes and 47 seconds left, or we can choose options. And there are. Dave is going to tell us about Skycoin, Skywire. I just found out this is like about the only other crypto I know of. What?
There was a coin that you were talking about that when we first were talking about this. What was it? Some kind of chain?
Holochain. Holochain. They may not be IP based. 99% of all the coin market cap stuff, it's all IP. It's all using one agreement. It is very architecturally specific. It's very constrained. Bitcoin, its royal self, is a defense against a thing called a civil attack, which is a sender attack, which doesn't happen on named data networking. All the security is in the data. The network layer itself takes care of the signature, the authentication, the validation. You don't even trust the node. So it's a way different architecture. Our minds aren't even used to it. It's an elephant in the room. It's a black swan. It's everything. It's a huge potential for us to get more reliable, more secure, more efficient networking for memory that we own. So this is basically it. Any questions?
Would you classify this as Web 4.0?
Yeah, I would like to go there because
Yeah.
I think this is what he was saying. What you guys were saying about the Gini coefficient is a royal load of shit. I think it's total bullshit. Hello, Twitter. It is. It's wrong. This decentralized stuff, it goes back to the Paul Barron drawing. It isn't decentralized at all. It's like these little centers that are all vying to be the, what do you call it?
The next
The winner take all. That's when maximalism comes in. That's why religion comes in. Question?
Where's the specification you had?
Okay, I can write that down.
Yeah, let's see it.
So go here. Boy, technology is wrong. Okay, time to CC. Go here.
Yes.
NDN.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah. It's pretty neat. Now, this is, I got 2 minutes, 29 seconds left. This isn't me. I didn't invent this.
Right.
The guy who made it is named Van Jacobson. He fixed TCP/IP congestion problem in the late 80s. He started in Livermore. He's worked at Park, Google, Cisco. He's a badass. What he did is after he fixed this congestion problem, he said, I'm going to make multicast work on IP. And he came out bloody. He hated it. Because you have to construct this wire, this imaginary wire from end to end, you can't broadcast, you can't multicast. Now, Will wanted me to say one thing about blockchain. What does NDN have anything to do with blockchain?
Yeah.
By using this, by applying this better networking metaphor, blockchain works better because you can multicast. You don't have to set up all of these things. I think there's a lot of advantages. I'm not really technical. I don't really know. But it's something that we should invest some of our energy in to secure our crypto. And let me write down my email in case anybody wants to follow up, because it's a little weird now, but I believe, you know, Colorado, I have 1 minute left. Colorado is got a lot of cryptographers here. It's got a lot of talent here. If we took an more secure protocol to the world, what would happen? We wouldn't just be like talking to Commissar Vitalik and saying, oh boy, we run a good endeavor. No. We would create secure crypto and information for everybody on the planet. And it'd be a lot different. Any more questions? 37 seconds.
Do you think like this? Do you think that this is more different than like switching from like the token ring technologies and the pre-IP stuff, or do you think
Pre-IP, as far as I know, is something called like post-traumatic stresses. I don't remember the acronym. It's a telephony thing. Plain old telephony. I don't even know.
POTS? Yeah.
Might be POTS. So yeah, it is. But here's one more drawing. Here's IP. Right? It's working great. You know, if you picture the whole entire internet in here. Here's NDN. NDN. IP can tunnel through NDN. NDN is much more general, so it's not exclusive. It's not religion. It's not saying you're Muslim, I'm Christian. It's saying we can both get along.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Duke.
Thanks.
Thank you, Duke.
Oh.
I believe we have a winner from East Denver in the house.
Oh, yeah, it's me. On my team. I'm part of that team.
Don't forget the mic if you want. Either way.
Okay. Thanks. So Turing School. Does anyone know that Alan Turing was a really good runner? Anyone know that? He did a 2:46 marathoner, which would be really good by today's standards, but it was like 11 minutes off like gold medal Olympic time. So that's just like a random thing about Alan Turing. That's kind of cool. I mean, among many other more important things, but okay, cool. Let me put this in. Sorry. Not that means. My name is Eric Johnson, and I'm going to talk about Cash. So what Cash is a cyberpunk cryptocurrency trading game based on the classic Drug Wars game. So, does anyone remember Drug Wars here? Yes, so you remember. So, Drug Wars was on a lot of different, it was eventually written for a lot of different platforms, but I remember playing on a TI graphing calculator. I don't know if anyone did that. So that took up most of my math class. I never learned that much from high school math. Anyways, so Cash is a game that's web-based. It's ERC20 and ERC 721-ish powered. So Ethereum blockchain, obviously. Cryptocurrency trading game based on Drug Wars. However, instead of buying and selling drugs, which is bad, you buy and sell cryptocurrencies in a cyberpunk dystopian setting, which is worse. So, this is this is just a quote about games and from Ethereum Foundation, but games kind of the bigger idea of games. I mean, I like games for game's sake, but it gives us kind of a creative basis to kind of go a little crazy and see what Ethereum can do, so to speak. Maybe break Ethereum, which I seemingly have already. So, to some degree, and CryptoKitties has already to some degree, but no worries there. So this concept was kind of created for the development at ETH Denver a couple of months back now, and we did pretty well. People were really receptive of it, and out of 100 teams, we placed in the top 7. So this is a photo of the UI, and hopefully I'll have enough time to kind of tease the game and then kind of make sure that you guys can play the game if you buy me a beer or something like that, if you're really that interested. So here's the backstory. All this artwork was created by my teammate. His name is Roscoe. He's a professional artist, and so he did all this really cool art. But the year is 2084. Traditional world economies have collapsed. Probably sooner than that, but we picked 2084, 100 years after 1984. Fiat currencies are replaced by several cryptocurrencies. These are largely owned by tech company cartels, like this one here. Psionic Systems is one in the game. So these are different currencies that you can buy and sell in the game, Cash being one of them. So in the game, there's a dominant currency. It's called Hashcoin. It's created by Kakai Hashimoto, who's that mysterious character, but who knows? It could be anyone. Could be the NSA. Could be someone here today. Nobody knows, right? So, anyways, you are not Hashimoto. You are a low-level megacity dweller. Nobody cares about except for loan sharks. So there is an exchange in the game called PlasmaNet. PlasmaNet, you can buy and sell, or you can borrow money and pay it back. And, just like in Drug Wars, you owe a large debt to start. So one day you're rummaging through the garbage and you find a piece of paper, cryptocurrency, private key, you think, you stuff it in your pocket. And then next day you're kind of hanging out and you find out there is a exchange called Charlotte's Web, and they list a new token by the name of Cash. So you're hanging out in your safe house in Tent City, and you give the private key a try, and to your surprise, you have 50 cash. So now, can you trade your way out of the rat race, avoiding all these bad things that are probably going to happen to you? So a little bit about the game from a more in-depth technical perspective. It's an ERC20 token. There is an ERC20 token called Cash, which powers the game. So think like a coin-operated arcade game, right? You want to play, you basically deposit a token. The goal is to have the token be inside of the game ecosystem, but obviously slightly outside as well. And we sort of aim to blend reality and sci-fi fantasy. So I think the origin of I had an idea of like what I wanted to do for fun at ETH Denver, and
I realized like what people really do, the killer app of cryptocurrency up until this point has just been like people going on like exchanges and trading currencies they know nothing about, and hopefully arbitraging that, making money. So we kind of take that into the game and then just try to go wild with it and actually make it a lot more fun. So the game does harness ERC-20 tokens and also ERC-721. So 721s, we're building the global high scores is going to be roughly a ERC-721 token, as well as an identities and avatar system. So the only thing you really need to play the game is an Ethereum address that has Ethereum and Cash token on it. So basically you can play anonymously and then build identities, and then those identities you own and basically can do whatever you want with. So that's kind of one of the incentives of the game, and obviously to get on high scores is an important thing too as well, if you're competitive like me. So right now we're just giving away ERC-20 tokens. They aren't gold, they're not even, we just literally minted them out of thin air, so we're willing to give some away just for playing, and I'll have some instructions on how you can do that. That's me, kind of my background and stuff. So I am a runner, that's why I mentioned Alan Turing. So I like to talk about running too, but Roscoe did all the amazing artwork you saw there. Yeah, it's more about the presentation, a little more about a presentation. Some of you have seen it already. This is CryptoKitties' team playing Cash. I don't think they did that well. Whatever. Not everyone can be good at these games, Yeah, so I think this is a cool quote, though, from Lane. I think games are a good starting place to see how far you can go with the platform. Just like, I'm not going to compare myself to John Carmack, that's dumb, but you know what I mean? Like, how far could you stretch a 360, DX to whatever? It's like, let's see how far you can go, and then you can use what you've learned, or people can use what you've learned, understand the possibilities of things. So I think gaming is a cool place to start, and it gives us a lot of freedom and creativity. So if you feel like starting a game, perhaps just one that you played on a calculator, you can do that, and people will take you seriously, I guess. So next steps. We do want to kind of be legit with this thing to some degree. I have a white paper coming. It's called the purple paper. It's actually not even purple, but I don't know. It's cool. Yes. Build off-chain game art. So some of the architecture will be obviously on the chain. Some of it is IPFS stuff for objects, and some of it will be a game server that's just a proprietary game server that basically ensures that people aren't cheating. That isn't super slow like Ethereum can be. Obviously, whatever 15-second blocks, not super fast. But it's faster than some things, but it's not fast enough to have it host a game server, I believe. Third party, I don't know. I mean, all our contracts are based off open Zeppelin contracts, and but we would like to have some people audit them, make sure that people are going to get screwed. But mostly just, make an immersive, artistic, and fun gaming experience. That's really what we want to do with this. You can actually do this right now. I mean, if you really wanted to, you can go to this URL and trading at 31337 cash for 1 ETH. That's like, right now it's 1 cash for 1 play. So that's, if you can blow through 31,000 games, good for you, you are a super fan. But yeah, you can also go, let me just, I think that's it. Yeah, so let me see if I can back out of this. And just update it to this new operating system today, and I'm like, not super, hold on a second, press by it. Show you guys a couple more things here before my time is all up. Actually, any questions? Anyone just want to shoot a question? Want to try to figure this out?
Yeah, I played Doom back when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And we did this totally crazy thing, my first e-commerce thing, where we gave you credit cards that you could use, and we made a game that you could spend real credit cards. And then, of course, we just thought it was funny, and not knowing that 20 years later people would be doing it all the time.
Yeah.
But have you thought that you could actually make this into an exchange?
Yeah, that's sort of the long term. Not, I wouldn't call it the long term goal, or even like the main goal, but there's something to real currencies sort of getting their way into the game, and then having that.
Yeah.
Although we do plan on a lot of mayhem, so like it might be better to have fictitious currencies. Like, so that you don't feel so bad when bad things happen to you. And then you can blame it on me. That's not that's centralized, right? I don't know what's going on with this. I did want to see if okay, here, hold on really quickly. So, cashthegame.com/register. This is a really crazy resolution here. You can put an email address. I'm eventually going to change that so you can just put in, you can use your MetaMask, and just, because I don't even believe that you should be able to, you don't have to give your email address, right? You should just be able to play the address. This is the contract for the ERC20, and then, I don't know what's happening here. Oh, there's my MetaMask. So if anyone actually wants to play a game a little bit, let me know. I'll burn a token here and you can play it.
So is it played through the browser? Or?
Yeah, so you can do, as long as you have a DApp browser, you can play. So I use MetaMask, you can use MISP, and if you're on your mobile, you can use Status right now. I mean, it's only when I've tested. But yeah, it's all web-based, so that's kind of neat and flexible.
Can you talk about ETH Denver at all? Like what your impressions were of how it went and what?
It was amazing. I have like my whole wardrobe now is just free clothes from and stickers, and I actually bought one of the big bean bags off someone too. But
oh, nice.
It was amazing. I think I was a web developer. I'm a web developer by trade, so I've been around since like Web 2.0, kind of like. And I feel like this thing is just getting started. Although it's like super flush with cash, like way more than like Web 1.0. Everyone was depressed and disappointed that like nothing had worked out to like their wildest fantasies. And I felt like that was going to happen with cryptocurrency, but then it like didn't. And now we have so many resources, and so now it's just time to like start building stuff. And I think that was like the whole thing about ETH Denver, and I think that's a good thing, honestly. It's just like, all right, it's time to build stuff. Here's your basis, and let's go. So, yeah, that's everything I got, and thank you very much for listening.
Alrighty. So, I'll try to blaze through this. I can talk about this for hours, but I'll do my best to kind of get through it and get the basic gist of what I'm excited about across you guys, and then I'm always available to chat later. So who am I? My name is David. A lot of people call me Dave. I have no preference. But I have no credentials of any kind, and I'm not important. You shouldn't take anything that I say seriously. What kind of problem am I talking about today? Is anybody 100% satisfied with their internet service provider?
No.
Not single-handedly. So there's probably a lot of reasons for that. You're probably paying more than you should for service that's not as reliable or fast as it should be. But we'll kind of get into that a little bit later. Writing on the wall, in my opinion, is mesh networks, which is the difference being rather than all of your internet traffic routing through your internet service provider, you're basically connecting to all the nodes in the network. So with an internet service provider, when you want to go and say fetch a video from YouTube or whatever your favorite streaming service is, you have to go through their servers and they'll load it up for you. And with a mesh network, you're going through depending on how you want to run your route, you can go a lot of different ways. Sometimes you're going to want to do it faster to stream video. Sometimes you might want more privacy, the way that Tor exit nodes work or Tor nodes work. Sometimes you might want to go for low latency for gaming or VoIP, things like that. A little bit of personal transparency. It's going to seem like I'm shilling a shitcoin tonight. I am not, but I am invested. Some of my precious Bitcoin are in the project that I'm going to talk about, and this leads into accountability. The ideas that I'm talking about are what excite me. The project that I am going to talk about is what I think is the best implementation that I've seen of that so far. If you find errors in what I'm talking about, or if you know about this project and there's something wrong with them that I should know about, please yell at me. If there's a better way to implement this project that I have not heard about, please yell at me, because I would love to hear about it. That's more what I'm interested about than the project itself. So the project is the Sky project. They've actually been quietly developing for quite a while, since 2012, which is about when Litecoin was created. The developers are original Bitcoin and Ethereum contributors. It's completely open source, hardware and software, which I'm going to get into pretty in depth in a second. And their goal from the beginning was not to build a cryptocurrency, but to build a new internet, because they saw the problems with the internet. They saw this blockchain thing coming along, and they were like, hey, that's what we need to fix this. And it is just massive in scope. I'm not going to be able to get into it, but this is just a peek at what I'm talking about. So Skycoin is their cryptocurrency. All these, by the way, before I get any further, all these repos, if you get on their white paper on their website, those are all GitHub links to actual existing code. I know that's not something that a lot of projects have, but that's what all those are. So Skycoin is their cryptocurrency, which would be their Bitcoin equivalent. That doesn't mean that Bitcoin's going anywhere. That's just what they're using. CX is their programming language, which would be an Ethereum equivalent. CXO is their object infrastructure, which would be for file storage and things of that nature. Everything on the left, by the way, is their an implementation that they created, and everything on the right is what they are trying to overcome or fix the problems with. What we're going to be focusing on is Skywire, which is basically their routing protocol, as well as their hardware, basically their new style of internet. They also have a couple other projects going on down there, which I'm not going to get into. So this is the Skywire hardware, and if anyone's very keen-eyed, they can probably tell these are just orange pies. There's 8 of them, a router and a power supply, and that's all it is. Now you can buy this from skycoin.net, or you can just build your own. This is entirely open hardware. It costs about $600 in open hardware to build it yourself. The benefits being that these nodes communicate directly, so a mesh network. Means you don't require Comcast or CenturyLink's permission. You don't need a connection. You don't have to pay anyone else for a connection. You can just go node to node to node. These can plug into standard copper Ethernet. You can plug into fiber. You can use all kinds of different connecting techniques. If you were living somewhere or in a country that maybe had a great firewall, you could just get straight past it because you're not connecting through state-controlled ISP. All of your data is encrypted at the link layer by default. You can route however you would like. I'll get into that maybe in a second. Greatly reduces man-in-the-middle attacks. They actually claim that it's man-in-the-middle proof. I don't think that's something you should claim. You should never claim something can't be hacked, because it doesn't be hacked. And the way that it works is that each node, when there's a hop, which is just your data goes from one node to another, each node that received that hop is only going to know where it came from and what the next destination node is. So what that means is that the node that has your data doesn't know where the data came from, and it doesn't know the final destination of your data. So in this example here, if you're sending your data, you being node A, and you'd like to go to your friend here, node E, it would hop through and say node B was trying to listen to your traffic. It would know that your data came from node A and was going to C, but it would not know that A was the origination, and it wouldn't know if C was the final destination, or if it was D, or if it was E. It wouldn't know how many more hops were left. Why am I excited about this? Well, first of all, it actually exists. Those Skywire miners that we're just showing here, those are actually being shipped. Sorry. Those are actually being shipped. The first 300 are in the wild. There's one in Denver. If one of you has it, please talk to me. I'm excited about this. And I'm trying to find you. Nothing creepy, but I do want to talk to you. Everything's open source, so that means you can purchase one of these as it comes in that nice looking plexiglass box, or you can build your own and put it in a milk crate or whatever. So completely open source. Mesh networks is something I'm very excited about, and there's tons of ways to connect these, whether it's just stringing up Ethernet across your neighborhood, whether you're throwing a directional Wi-Fi antenna on your roof, whatever. Very resistant to surveillance and centralization. So smart routing is really interesting because if you're playing a video game or doing a voice over IP call, then you might want to have a low latency route, so you would direct your traffic in that way. If you were maybe doing a BitTorrent download, you would maybe want the highest throughput, so you would direct your traffic that way. And if you wanted to do a Tor style hop, then you could aim it for privacy. If anyone's familiar with the Cuban sneaker net, or I should say if you're not familiar with the Cuban sneaker net, you should be. It's very cool. The Cubans are incredibly resourceful people. They have basically 20 years old hardware, and they're building their own intranets, which function. They're not entirely reliable, but they're pretty good for what they have, and they operate completely outside of the world's internet. So very cool. Another thing that I like is that we have to build it. We're not going to sit here and pretend that someone's coming to save us and build us a new ISP that's going to be better than the ISPs that we got. It's not going to happen. And it's relatively inexpensive, about $600 for the hardware. Any questions?
So, you say you don't need an ISP, but you still need to land it, right? You still need to land it to the backbone.
If you would like to connect, so the idea is that eventually this would supplant the internet, as far as we know it.
So they'd all be talking in the mesh, and you wouldn't have to go.
Correct, but in the meantime, obviously, you might want to get on YouTube, or you might want to, you're going to want to get onto that internet backbone, and the best way to do that in the early stages is going to be to get a connection to someone that has a fiber drop, whether that's in a co-located data center or just someone that has a business or whatever. But you can run TCP/IP over this network. You can run NDN, like Duke was talking about, over this network. You can run basically anything across it. They have their own ecosystem for decentralized apps and things of that nature as well. But a lot of possibilities.
Where's the highest concentration of these right now?
Well, there's only 300 shipped from the company, and there's maybe another 300 that have been built in the wild. So I wouldn't say that there is a concentration. It seems like they're mostly in the United States and Europe, but there's definitely some in South America, Asia, maybe one or two in Africa. At very, very early stages, like I said, these guys have been just quietly actually building code for 6 years, and they're now finally to release a finished product. So it's just in its infancy, but it's got a solid foundation, unlike a lot of projects.
So if they're all over the world, how do they connect with each other?
I would assume that most of them at this stage, the testnet is launching in May, so right now I would say that none of them are connected. Next month they will begin to connect and do test connections and start actually building something. But I would say that most of them are going to be tapping into the internet backbone to begin with. My personal goal would be to really with half a dozen, 2 dozen at the most, you could connect probably from Fort Collins to Colorado Springs, a working mesh network. It would probably not be quite as fast, but if you think about 2 dozen nodes, that's not a lot. I mean, you get up there in the 1-200 range, you're going to talk about much closer to gigabit speeds than most ISPs can offer. And one thing that's worth mentioning that I haven't yet is that when you operate one of these Skywire nodes, you are essentially creating a VPN for anyone that's connecting through you, and you are incentivized by being paid with this is a staking style coin, and you're being incentivized with their coin hour style of not really mining, but however you want to call it.
Are there, there's mesh buttons that you can make. They let you connect a mesh network, and they also have
like
a
the
Wi-Fi.
GoTenna?
What's that?
Like the GoTenna?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are they compatible
You can connect any kind of network over these. This is creating a new backbone, right? So it's hardware and software which you can run any kind of application over. They're obviously creating their own ecosystem, which is created specifically for that, but you can run basically anything over it. The only issue I have with GoTenna is that the only thing you can really do over it is their proprietary messenger, and their SDK I've heard is not fantastic, but I certainly welcome mesh networking is the idea for me. So
Instructables has a bunch of projects that you can do with a Raspberry Pi. You can just make a little button that you have solar powered, and it just you throw it someplace and it just plugs in.
I'm sorry?
What's the coin for?
So the idea of the cryptocurrency would be to pay for use of decentralized applications or for your bandwidth. In theory, you could use any blockchain, I would think, but obviously they're going to make it work best with theirs. But there's still a lot to be decided, as the testnet's only just launching next month, so we'll really see. But they've been working a long time, and if I saw a better way to mesh network, it's what I'd be using. But for now, this is the best that I've seen.
Is the reasons we've had mesh networks for a while, right?
Yeah,
right.
I mean, you can use Bluetooth to build a mesh network, right? So why is this exciting?
No. Does this solve the problem of why we don't have large-scale mesh networks?
The biggest difference would be that they're incentivized. So if you run a node, then you potentially get paid for that. But I think that, I think that the incentive will not be to make money after it starts to get built out. People will start to see, oh, this is actually just a better way to use the internet, and it's a new way to do it. So that's my hope. All right, thanks so much.
Cool. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate you all coming out and sharing your thoughts and perspective with us. It's great to have you. This is a new meetup. This is about the second one we've had. We basically do this every month. Quick talks from the community. We have a great community here. It's been great to see it explode like it should. And if you have something that you want to say, come back. I'd love to hear it. Thank you.
Thank you.